Hello dear student, welcome on this video lecture, and we will be proceeding further with the previous video content. In previous videos we have talked about a function, so let me shortly recap what we have gone through. So when we write y is equal to fx, so that's known as a function or relation in which x is an independent variable, y is a dependent variable. So we put the values of x, we get the values of y, and the same function can also be plotted on the graph of y and x. So let's say if somebody plots this, so the graph is some sort of this. It can be of any type depending upon how this relation has been defined. So this is known as y equal to fx graph, right? And then we talked about various type of important graphs like trigonometric graph, these graphs or functions, exponential functions, logarithm functions, which are useful for us. So now we will be moving one step ahead of this relation, and we will be using this relation to find something called change. So let's say consider this graph that I have plotted over here, and let's consider 2 points which are of importance, or which we are looking for. So let's say there is a point x1. So if we place this x1 over here, then you go towards this, you get the value of y, or you can call it a y1. Then we can take another point on the x-axis, let's call this x2, and if we go for straight up, then wherever we meet this, then we go horizontally. Wherever we meet this y-axis, that becomes the value of y corresponding to this value of x. So that becomes, or that we can call as a y2. So as per this function notation, we know that y1 is going to be basically equal to value of function when x is x1. Similarly, y2 is going to be the value of function at x equal to x2. These x1, x2 can be any numbers on this x-axis or in the domain corresponding this y will be obtained. Now if someone wants to read change, so change in values can be understood as follows. So change, if we are talking about, so in what? Change in what? If, always we will ask whether this change in x or this change in y or in what parameter. So change in, let's say we are talking about x. So in these 2 points, the change in x, we can write it as a delta x. Delta term is used for change, and this delta x is going to be equal to x2 minus x1. So this x2 minus x1 will be change in x. Similarly, in case we are interested in finding the change in y, so we can write change in y. This was change in x, and now we are talking about change in y. That means value of dependent variable. We can write it as a delta y, which is going to be equal to y2 minus y1. That means final value of y and initial value of y, the difference of the two. Now we have written this y1 y2 in this fashion as well, so we could also write it as f of at x2 minus value of f at x equal to x1. So we can easily find the change in x, we can find the change in y for given values of x1 and x2. Then we can find y1 and y2, hence the changes in x and y can easily be calculated, right? So suppose we move ahead and we are talking about change in y with respect to change in x. So if we are trying to find this number delta y upon delta x, so that's going to give us a very important information to us about how the function changes. This is going to say what is the change in the function value when we place the change in x by delta x. So delta y is the change in the value of the function when we bring the change in x by delta x. Now this expression, as per the notations that we have carried forward, in these notations we can write this is going to be equal to function's value at x2 minus function's value at x1 divided by x2 minus x1. Here we are simply using this mathematics and we are trying to form a meaningful expression for change in y upon change in x. Now whenever somebody asks about change in y upon change in x, we can carry with this and we can say this is going to give us the ratio of change in y and change in x. And once the function is known to us, we can find this change. Now here this delta x that we have treated, which is x2 minus x1, this is indicating this is the delta x. So this difference is difference in x or change in x in terms of graph. Similarly, this gap is indicating change in y or the value of function. So when we bring this amount of change in x, then you'll find this amount of change in y occurs. Now function can be of any type. So the change at particular location may be different as compared to the another location. That means if we take the same change over here at this location, then we may find a different amount of change in y for the same amount of delta x chosen at a different location. So that means this is also going to be important for us to know where this change is being taken, right? Now, in case we bring this x1 and x2 very close to each other, very close to each other, that means we want, so let me write over here, if we place this delta x2 minus delta x1 very small. It's not simply small, it's very small. That's negligibly small. That means it can be neglected corresponding to any number. Now what I mean by very small change or difference, let me illustrate by an example and then you can appreciate it. Let's say in initial case this x1 was number 4 in x, and we taken this x2 as, let's say, 8. So what the difference is coming? So we will say delta x here is going to be 8 minus 4, which is going to be 4. Make sense? Now when we are saying very small, that means we are going to talk about in such a way. Let's say if we take x1 is equal to 4, then we are going to take this x2 very close to 4. That means 4.00000, as small as we can take. Let's say 2 or 1 or any number after so much more zeros. So that means if we take this x1 as a 4 and then the x2 is slightly more than 4, then that means we will say the difference is going to be very small, right? And in this case, if we are looking for the difference, then you'll find the difference is going to be delta x, which is going to be 0.00, as I wrote over here, 5 zeros. So we will place this 5 zeros, then 1. Ultimately the point is that the delta x very small. So when the delta x is very small, then it helps, then we will be using this delta x to understand the nature of the function, how the function changes with respect to x. And this is what is related to the differentiation that we are going to link shortly. So if this x2 minus x1 is very small, that means delta x is very small, then we can write this delta y upon delta x in a different fashion. So let me draw the similar graph again on this y and x plane, and let's say this is this sort of graph, the same graph, and we are catching the same x1 that we had catched earlier. So that's x1, but this instant we are taking the x2 very close to this x1. So this is very close to x1. Now I'm showing a bit gap, but the gap can be even lesser than this. Then you'll find this first value you are going to get at this number, and the second value you are going to get at this y. So instead of calling this x2, we can call this x2 as x1 plus delta x, because you see over here we will be calling this x2 minus x1 is equal to delta x, where delta x is very small expression. So from here we can say this x2 is basically x1 plus delta x, or we can simply say delta x has been added on this x1, which is very small number, and for all practical purposes this x2 and x1, they are very close to each other. So the next term that we are using here is x1 plus delta x. So let me write over here so that its difference is visible. Delta x. Making sense? Now if we want to, we can remove this x1 1 out of this x1, so we can say this is x point, then the next point is x plus delta x, right? And then you will get this y1 and then y2. Then this y1 is going to be written as again in a very similar fashion. Y1 will be written as f in x1, and y2 can be written as f as at x equal to x2. So here can we say the delta y expression is going to be equal to the function's value at x2, which is basically x1 plus delta x, and minus function's value at x1. Making sense? So that becomes delta y, and the delta x is treated over here, so we can find the ratio. Now this differentiation is defined whenever this delta x very small. So if we write this dy upon dx, when the x value of this delta x is very small, so we write this delta by d, so that's called dx. So d is also used for the change, but that change has to be very small. So whenever the change is small, we replace this delta by d symbol. So when we say dx, that means it's a very small change in x. Makes sense? So, and this delta y again becoming small, so if dy upon dx we are writing, that means it's trying to say when we make the change in x very small, then we want to know what the change in y is going to be. So that's called differentiation expression, and if we write dy upon dx, that's meaning is going to be equal to basically delta y upon delta x, but keeping delta x as small as possible. So how to indicate that small nature? For that thing we write here limit, lim for limit, and we claim that this delta x we are treating very small, so that tends to 0, not exactly 0, but it is very close to 0. So whenever we write lim, that's called limit, delta x tending to 0, delta y upon delta x, this expression is denoted by dy upon dx, and its value is going to be equal to, if we carry with this, is going to be limit delta x, which is very small, and it's going to be having the value of delta y, which is f x1 plus delta x minus f of x1 divided by delta x. So this is how this particular expression is defined. So whenever we have this kind of expression, then we call it as a differentiation. So differentiation, which is denoted by dy upon dx, it's basically delta y upon delta x, keeping this delta x as small as possible. That means it's a limit tending to 0. If we do so, then this is basically the value of function at that particular x, and the difference rather, that x and then slightly more than that x divided by delta x. Now if we want to, we can drop this one, so it becomes x plus delta x minus fx. Making sense? Now when we say this x1, that has a particular meaning. That means we are trying to find this differentiation at x equal to x1. So sometime we will also write dy upon dx, and we will draw a line, and we will say this is operating at x equal to x1. So if we change the location of x1, then we will be finding that whatever that location we have shifted, that location has to be written over there. Now this ultimately becomes differentiation of y with respect to x, which is equal to change in y upon change in x, limit tending to 0. That tries to say the change is very small. That's why this delta has been converted into d's. So this delta can be converted into d whenever the change is very small. And after performing this mathematical operations and doing the calculations, then we will be able to find what the dy upon dx is. So this dy upon dx will tell us what is the change in y when the small change in x is carried out. Making sense? So that's the only mathematical expression that we have talked about. Later we will talk about what the physical interpretation of this is and how it is important for us in calculations or in understanding the physics. And before that, we will be talking about how to find this dy upon dx when any function y equal to fx is known to us. So if the function is known to us, how we will be writing this dy upon dx? The technique of this or the rules of this we need to learn first, and we need to get comfortable with that operation or calculation. Once we are done with the rules and other aspect of this calculation, then we will be interpreting what exactly it is, it has the meaning, and how we are going to use it in physics. So let me quickly rewrite what we have understood till now. We have talked about if y is equal to fx function or relation is given to us, then we can write dy upon dx. Dy upon dx is basically written as, in mathematical language, limit delta x tending to 0, the value of function at x plus delta x minus the value of function at x divided by delta x, or we can simply write it as a delta y upon delta x. Delta for change, d for small change. And we will be writing this dy upon dx, we will be reading it as a dy upon dx. This is basically read as a change in x with change in y with respect to change in x. And since this is very small, so we read it as a rate of change in y with respect to, in short we are writing WRT, change in x. Change in x. So if we are changing x, then how y is changing in this expression or function, that is what dy upon dx tells us. And we call it the differentiation of y with respect to x. So this is read as also differentiation of y with respect to x. And this is also called derivative of y with respect to x. So sometimes we can call it as a derivative. So derivative of y with respect to x. Now this y and x, they can be any number, and language will remain the same. That means differentiation of upper letter with respect to the lower letter, right? Now apart from this, there are other ways of representing the same differentiation. So sometimes we write dy upon dx, which we can also say it's basically d upon dx operating on y. So this d upon dx is called operation, which is called differentiation operation. So this is basically differentiation of anything with respect to x. And what that thing is, that thing we need to write over here. So we can write it like this, or we can write it in this way, d upon dx, and place the value of y which we know, which is fx. So this can also be written in this manner. Sometimes this is also written in terms of f dash or prime. So we place a prime over here. Whenever we place a prime over here, it means we are talking about derivative of f with respect to x. Sometimes we also write it as a y prime. That means it's a derivative of y with respect to x if it is x there. So there are other notations. Sometimes we also write it as a y dot. We place a single dot. So that's also indicating the same thing. So they are the notations that I'm talking about. The same thing we can write in a different manner, right? But most popularly that we use is the way of writing is this dy upon dx. So either we say dy upon dx, or we say y dot, or we say y prime, or we say y f dash x, or we say df upon dx, or d upon dx of y. All are having the same meaning, and that meaning is written over there mathematically. Making sense? So this is how the notations goes for differentiation of y. So if x and y are not used, any other letters are used, so we can think of in a very similar manner. Let's say if somebody writes dv upon dt in terms of physics, let's say v for velocity, t for time, then we will say it's a differentiation of velocity with respect to time. So we'll write it as this is a differentiation of velocity with respect to time. So point is, any letter we can use in numerator or in denominator, but this d has to be common, and we will say this is the rate of change of v with respect to t. So interpretation will be this. It can also be written as a rate of change of v with respect to t. So that's how the language is going to be whenever we see this. Okay, and these are the notations that you have seen, and this is the definition. That's how we are going to calculate this thing. But this is very basic definition, and we are not going to follow this to calculate because it's going to be complicated. In maths you are going to learn more in detail what is this and how we are going to calculate that. What we are going to do now onwards is we are going to learn the rules by which we will be able to find the derivatives or differentiation of y with respect to x. So there are a couple of rules we need to get used to of this, and we need to practice a lot so that we are comfortable with that. So whenever there is going to be a question in future, and you are given the function and you are expected to find the derivative, you should be able to apply those rules and come to the conclusion or the calculation. After finishing the calculation, you should be able to get the answer correctly and immediately, right? So let's start with the rules of differentiation. So here we go, rules of differentiation. We will try to cover all the rules and with examples as well. So you can call this as the first rule. Numbering is not important for us, rules are important for us. So derivative of a constant. So if we are trying to find the derivative of a constant, that means our function is a constant, then what it goes. So it says the first rule of differentiation is that derivative of every constant function is 0. So whenever a constant function is coming, then you say its derivative is going to be 0. Example has been shown over here. If c is a constant, then d upon dx over c will be 0, right? So that's a constant is 0. So for example, let's say you are getting this d upon dx of 5, and somebody says find this value. So we will say this is trying to basically ask what is the change in 5 when x is changed slightly. So we know this 5 is a constant, and 5 does not change no matter how much change you bring the change in x. So logically it fits as per the definition, and it will become 0. That means there will be no change in 5 if you change the x, because 5 is a constant. 5 does not change by changing any variable. That's why the constant derivative is always 0, right? So that's the simplest first rule, and you can remember. Then there's the rule number 2, that's called power rule, and that's extremely important and most popularly will be used. It says if n is a real number, then d upon dx, that means operation, this is a differentiation operation, and that has been applied over x power n. So this gets converted into n x raised power n minus 1, right? So here you can say the function fx is basically x raised to power n, and whenever we differentiate this kind of function, then the answer comes that the power comes in front and the overall power reduces by 1. So basically we can say differentiation reduces the power, right? And let's see this with an example. So if somebody says y is equal to, or fx is equal to x raised to power 6, and says find d upon dx of this function fx. So we are trying to find the derivative of this function. So we will be writing this d upon dx. Instead of fx, we are writing x raised to power 6. Now you see, this is very similar to x raised to power n, so we can compare, and we will find here n value is a 6. So as per the rule, the value of n comes in front, so that's 6 will be coming there. Then we keep this x, and we reduce this power by 1, so it becomes 6 minus 1. So our answer will become 6x raised to power 5. Now you see, this was the function that was given to us, and we have understood what the dy upon dx is. That's going to be 6x raised to power 5. So power gets reduced by 1, and the power also gets multiplied as a coefficient. Okay, we can take another example as well. So let's say y is given to us x raised to power minus 3, and we need to find dy upon dx. So somebody says find dy upon dx. That means we need to find the derivative of y with respect to x. So what we are going to do, we are going to simply carry it forward. We will say d upon dx, and this is x raised to power minus 3. Since it's x raised to power minus 3, then you can say this minus 3 is behaving like n, because n can be any real number. So n can be any number which has to be real. So that's a minus 3. Then as per the rule, it will get multiplied as a minus 3, and then it will be reduced by 1. That means minus 3 minus 1. So ultimately it will become minus 3 x raised to power minus 4. So that becomes our answer. So whatever the n is, first we identify the n, then apply this rule. That's important rule, and widely used rule. Let's take one more example. If somebody says find d upon dx of 1 by x. So if the function is given as a 1 by x, so what we are going to do, we are going to convert it in the form that it appears like the formula we have written over here. So it's going to be x raised to power minus 1. Now you can compare this with the rule that we know. Here n value is minus 1, so as per the rule you will place the minus 1 in front and reduce the power by 1. So again minus 1 you are going to place over there. So it becomes minus x raised to power minus 2, which can be written as minus 1 upon x square. So this particular example, the example that I have just finished, this example is quite important, and you should remember that differentiation of 1 upon x is minus 1 upon x square. It's going to come n number of time. Of course, if you do a couple of questions and practice, then you'll find that it will become very easy for us or for you as well to find out this derivative anytime, right? So that's an important expression. Let me give one last example here itself, so that we can use this expression. So let's say we need to find this value of d upon dx and square root of x, or any power for that matter. So if it is written as a square root, we can easily convert it into the power, and that power is going to be half. And then n value is 1 by 2, so we will placing 1 by 2 x, then 1 by 2 minus 1. So that's a rule, we are just following the rule. And then you'll find it's going to be 1 by 2 x raised to power minus 1 by 2, which we can write it as a 1 upon twice root x. So point is, if we differentiate this function, which is y is equal to under root x, the answer comes out to be 1 upon 2 under root x. So these are the varieties of example. When the power is positive, then you have seen what goes on. When power is negative, you have seen what goes on. 1 upon x, a special example that you have taken. And if fractional power, if it is there, then you can apply the same formula. That means this formula can be applied for any real number, whatever the number it is, it has to be real, that's all. and it can be applied. So that means this is very, very important and very general formula that is applicable for all values of n. Simply they has to be real. Okay, now let's move towards the next rule. Rule number 3, it says the constant multiple rule. So if u is a differentiable function, so let's say u is a differentiable function. What does that mean? That means u can be differentiated. There are certain conditions for a function to be differentiable, and those conditions you will be learning in detail in mathematics part. In physics we will be finding mostly those functions which are differentiable in nature. So u is a differentiable function of x and c is a constant. Then if we need to differentiate a function with constant as a multiple, then what we need to do, we need to take this constant outside, so that constant comes outside, and whatever the function is, that function is getting differentiated. So if a constant is multiplied by a function, that constant can be taken outside, out of this differentiation. That's the rule says. In particular, in case we see a particular rule that we have talked about, if n is a number, then d upon dx of c x raised to power n, we have talked about this x raised to power n formula, then we can say this c will be taken outside, and then we'll be operating this d upon dx on x raised to power n, and x raised to power n will turn out to be, after differentiating, n x raised to power n minus 1. So answer will become c n x raised to power n minus 1. So n is any integer for that, or any number for that. So this term you can omit. As we have talked about, this is true for any real number. So if n is any real number, it's going to work. Let me give some example for this, and so that we will be able to comfortable to use it and learn it. And let's say we need to find d upon dx of 2x. So what this value is going to be, d upon dx of 2x. So we will say this 2 is a constant which is multiplied with this x. So this 2 can be taken outside, so it will become simply 2 times d upon dx, and that has to be operated over x. Now when this is written x, then we can say the power of x is 1. So here n is equal to 1, and we can apply this n equal to 1 rule. Then you will find it's going to be 2 which is outside, and in as per this differentiation we are getting 1 into x raised to power 1 minus 1. So it's going to be 2 and x raised to power 0. We know if any number is there and power is 0, that's come out to be 1. So that's going to be 2 into 1. Ultimately answer will be 2. So one more point coming from here is that whenever we get d upon dx of x, answer is 1. So differentiation of a function with respect to the same function is always 1. So that's also very popular and common rule that we can remember. So you have understood how the constant behaves when it is in multiple. It can be taken outside. Let's take one more example just to get used to of it. D upon dx. What you can do, you can pause your videos. Whenever we are solving example, you can pause your video, do the calculation by yourself using the rule that we are learning, then check whether you are getting the same expression all the time. Okay, so d upon dx, let's say it's written as 3 x raised to power 1 by 3. So again, as per the rule, this 3 will be taken outside, and d upon dx has to be performed on the function x raised to power 1 by 3. And then as per the rule, you will find this is 3, and this n is now 1 by 3, so n will be taken outside, so that's a 1 by 3, and this n has to be reduced by 1, so we will reduce it by 1. So you'll find it going to be 3 and 3 getting cancelled out, x raised to power minus 2 by 3. So that becomes our answer for the differentiation of this, or we can say for this expression, this is the result. Making sense? So here we have learned the constant multiple rule. There's a rule number 4 that says sum rule. So it says derivative of sum of two differentiable functions is the sum of their derivatives. Meaning is, if we sum the two functions and take the differentiation, then the answer is same as taking the differentiations and summing the functions later on. if we write in terms of a formula, it will be like this. Let's say we have two functions. One function is u, another function is v. We can denote the functions by u, v, or f, g, or any letter for that matter. So let's say we want to differentiate a function which is basically addition of u and v. So first we are adding the function and then we are putting this differentiation. This is going to be same as du upon dx. That means we are differentiating the function first and then differentiating another function and we are adding. Or you can call this as a distributive law, that this operation d upon dx gets inside and gets distributed on both the functions. Making sense? And if there is a minus symbol there instead of plus, then you'll find the minus symbol will be appearing over here, because this minus is nothing but -1, and -1 is a constant, and as per the rule of multiple, that constant will be taken outside. So whether it's a plus or minus in between the two functions, answer comes out to be differentiation of them independently or individually, and then putting the plus or minus whatever was there. Okay, that's called sum rule. And a few examples will be helping us to digest this in a better fashion. So let's say somebody asks d upon dx of this x square plus 3. This is a function that we need to differentiate. So we will say that there's a plus sign or addition sign is coming. So we will be separating them and we will writing d upon dx of x square plus d upon dx of 3. So this is how we can think of, that means we can think of this is getting distributed inside. Now then we will be using the rule for the first. If I write in short, then you can think of this is x square and is 2, so it's going to be 2x raised to power 2 minus 1, that's 1. 1 can be written as x. Simply x, and this is a differentiation of constant which is 0, so answer came out to be 2x. So what we are supposed to get used to is this: whenever this expression is coming given to us, we should be immediately reaching to this. That means this has this as answer. Making sense? Okay. Now this is not only restricted for the two functions, summation or difference. Any number of functions, if they are being added or subtracted, we can distribute this differentiation in all of them. So let's take another example that will be using the previous rules that we have talked about. So let's say d upon dx we need to find, and this is given as 3x square minus 6x plus 5. So here 3 terms have been involved. Somewhere there's a plus and as well minus expression. So we will be distributing it to all the terms. So it will become d upon dx in the first expression of first function, which is 3x square. Then minus d upon dx on 6x. And then finally plus d upon dx of 5. I hope it's visible. So you will find that the first has to be performed as a differentiation, second term, then last term, and then need to be operated. Keep in mind, I am placing the symbols plus or minus where they were. Now here you will be applying the rule of constant multiple. You can take 3 outside. Once you take 3 outside, it becomes x square. Then you apply the rule for x square, that will become 2x. I'm writing in directly, you can check this. And minus here, from here you will get the 6 outside, then differentiation of x with respect to x is 1, so that's the 1, plus 5, which is a constant, so rule of constant, which is 0. So ultimately answer will become 6x minus 6. So the value of this expression which was given over here after differentiation becomes 6x minus 6. So this is how differentiation can be performed over summation of various differentiable functions or difference of various differentiable functions. Next rule is numbered as rule number 5. That's called product rule, an important rule. All the rules are important. This is some different formula, so it has to be learned properly. it says if we have two functions u and v, they are differentiable at x, okay, and then if their product is u into v, this is considered, then the formula is this. So this is the formula we need to remember. What it is, let me explain. It says differentiation of functions, two functions which are in multiple. So we call that as a first function and we call it as a second function. So we have two functions that are getting multiplied, and the rule goes, we will writing the first function as such. So we are not going to change the first function, we are writing it as such, and we will be differentiating the second function. So second function is being differentiated, then we will apply a plus symbol, and then we will be keeping the second function as such and differentiating the first function. So this is how you can remember. Rule is first function differentiation of second plus second function differentiation of first. So we differentiate them alternatively and add and multiply the undifferentiated function. Now keep in mind, this is the formula. We should not use this kind of formula, that d upon dx of uv, this is not equal to du upon dx into dv upon dx. No, that's not a rule. This is the rule. So that means in case of product, we do not do the individual differentiation and make them their product. That's not valid. Whereas in case of addition and subtraction, you have seen whether you add first and then differentiate, or differentiate first then add, they are equal. But here, if you differentiate first and multiply, they are not going to be the same as first multiply them and differentiate. Understood? So this is not the case. Hence the formula becomes important, and the formula is this: first function differentiation of second plus second function differentiation of first. Let me give this by an example, or show this by an example. And let's say we need to find d upon dx of a function which is written like this. Let's say it's under root x and x square. Now, well, we can simplify this by a very simple method, like we can multiply these x power and add the powers, so it will becomes in the form of x raised to power n, and we can get our answer from there. But since we are learning this particular rule, so we are going to apply this rule in this case, and we will see whether we are getting the same answer, which we can get directly as well. So we will treat this as a first function, this is a second function, so we can say this is a first function, this is a second function. And rule will, you can consider any of them first or second, it's your choice, it doesn't matter because it's a symmetrical. So we will write in the first function as such, we will be differentiating the second function, which is x square. So we are writing the differentiation of x square, plus then we will keep the second function as such, place this differentiation operation with the first function. That's how you need to go. And then we will find this is going to be under root x, and differentiation of x square, by now you should be comfortable, twice x, plus this is x square, and the differentiation of this function is going to be, we have talked about, it's going to be 1 upon twice root x. So differentiation of root x we have just carried forward, so you can see from the previous example it came out to be 1 by 2 root x. So this can be written as 2x raised to power 1.5, that's a 3 by 2, and this is going to be 1 by 2 x raised to power 2 minus half, that is 3 by 2. Ultimately it's going to be 2 plus a half, that's going to be 5 by 2, 5 by 2 x raised to power 3 by 2. So this is how we can apply the product rule. So product rule has a particular way of application I have shown over here. Now since this example can also be solved by using basic rule, then we can check whether the answer that we have got in this way is same as the answer that we are going to get directly, or other way, because that other way is existing over here. So we can say if you multiply these together, so it will become x raised to power 2 plus half. That 2 plus half will be 5 by 2. And as per the rule, this number 5 by 2 will come outside, and then x raised to power will become 5 by 2 minus 1. And when we do this 5 by 2 minus 1, then you will find it's going to be 3 by 2. So you'll finding the same answer coming from the product rule as we can find from this. Now, what the use of the product rule is that all the time we cannot do this as x raised to power some number, because later on we were learning the first function can be sine x, log x, exponential x, and second function can be x square, x cube, or anything. Then we cannot convert all the functions as x raised to power n. Then this is going to be the rule that we will be using to find the differentiation of product. I hope it's understood. Now, once we are able to find the product of product rule, then we can think of this quotient rule or division rule. That's also called division rule. That means how we perform this division of two function. Now, multiple and division, they are similar stuff. Like let me tell you, if this is u into v, we can always write this u into v as u divided by 1 by v. So product and divisions, they can be converted like this. So that means even if we don't remember this division rule, we can work with the product rule. But yes, remembering division rule becomes easier, so we need to learn this as well. It says u and v are differentiable at x and vx is non-zero. This is the condition because v is in denominator and we don't want denominator to be 0, so that condition has to be applied. And then the quotient or division of this u by v is differentiable, and that's differentiable, and the differentiation is given by this formula. Now let's learn what the formula says. That means differentiation of numerator and denominator is equal to, first we will write the denominator and we will be differentiating numerator, then we will be placing minus symbol, and then we will be writing numerator and differentiating denominator, and then we're ultimately dividing the entire number by square of denominator. So that's a bit lengthy. You can write it and practice it, and once you do so, you will be getting directly answer of quotient or division. Again, let's take an example and try to use this quotient rule, and then we will be using this whenever the quotient is coming. What I was trying to say, that this u by v, if you want to use the product rule, this can always be written as u into v raised to power minus 1. So if you treat this in this manner, then you'll find this here we can apply the product rule, that product has to be applied between u and v raised to power minus 1. So from there you will find the same answer coming, which you can get from this quotient rule directly. So in example, let's catch an example. Find d upon dx of 3 upon x square. I'm taking a simple example. So 3 is one function, x square is another function, so we are treating it as a division of two functions. You can simply calculate by taking this upside. So I'm trying to use this division rule. So rule goes, first we write the denominator, that's x square. Then we differentiate the numerator, which is 3. Then we need to place a minus. We will writing this numerator, and we need to differentiate the denominator, and then divide the entire stuff by square of the denominator. So denominator is x square. Square of this we are going to use for this. And then after we can go for this calculation, then this x square and the differentiation of this constant is 0. Then 3, this will become x square differentiation is 2x, and ultimately you need to divide by x raised to power 4. So this will become minus 6x divided by x raised to power 4, because the first term was 0. So ultimately it becomes minus 6 x raised to power minus 3. So that's going to be answered by using the formula of quotient rule or division rule. Now the same thing could be simply solved by using the basic formula, because this is a simple example. So this could also be treated like this, d upon dx, and this is going to be 3x raised to power minus 2. And here we can check whether the answer coming from the division rule is same as this. Now this is a constant which we can take it outside, and we need to apply the differentiation over x raised to power minus 2. And this is a popular formula that we know. You can use that. It's going to be minus 2 and x raised to power minus 2 minus 1. So this and this get multiplied to minus 6 and x raised to power minus 3. You can see you are getting the same answer by using direct method, and this is the division rule. The importance of this division rule is that always we cannot convert this in form of powers. So it might be like sine x is upside, cos x is downside, or any function is in terms of denominator, which is hard to write in terms of this. Then you will find its utility will become very, very important. Next rules here are related to trigonometry. Derivative of sine x function, sine function. So whenever we derive sine x function, it becomes cos x. Very, very important. And because we know in physics we will be mostly treating with sine x, cos x. That's why we are writing them separately. So sine x differentiation is cos x. Similarly, cosine function, cos x will have a differentiation as a minus sine x. So that has to be taken care of. And next rule says other trigonometric functions. So if we differentiate tan x, it becomes sec square x. If we differentiate sec x, it becomes sec x tan x. Similarly, cot x comes out to be minus cosec square x, and cosec x comes out to be minus cosec x cot x. So these result has to be understood, digested, and practiced. And how these things are coming, that's the matter of mathematics. In mathematics you will be learning how these things are coming, and for that thing the basic formula that we have talked about, f x plus delta x minus fx upon delta x, limit tending to 0, x delta x tending to 0, that formula is a basic formula. Using that you can derive all these derivatives, and that you will be doing in mathematics. So here I can take some example to illustrate these things. Let's say somebody says to find this d upon dx x plus sine x minus 2 cos x. So this kind of expression is given to us, and we are expected to find the value of this expression. So after differentiation, what it is going to be. So as per the rule, we need to open this bracket and take it inside. So it will become d upon dx, the first term, which is x, then plus d upon dx on the second term, which is simply sine x, and minus d upon dx, which is 2 cos x. Making sense? Now we can apply the individual rules. This is differentiation of x with respect to x, that comes out to be 1, plus differentiation of sine x with respect to x, that's this formula, which will lead to cos x minus 2 can be taken outside because it's a constant, and then differentiation of cos x differentiation is minus sine x, so you can place a minus sine x, and then you can say this minus and minus will become plus, so that will become your answer. So ultimately we can say answer is 1 plus cos x plus 2 sine x. Well, so this is how this expression is simplified to this. Making sense? And we can take this another expression. Let's say we are trying to find this d upon dx of x square into cos x, or we can use the division or all the previous rules that we have learned. So example can be using either of these rules. So here you can see this is x square into cos x, so this is a product of two functions. So here we will be using the product formula, and we will be treating this as the first function, this is the second function. Now this differentiation cannot be performed by any other method except applying this product rule. So here you will find this product rule is extremely important. So we will be writing the first function as such. We will be differentiating the second function, which is cos function. We will be writing the second function as such, which is cos function. We will be differentiating the first function, which is x square. Now you'll find this all these differentiation are formulas that we know. So this is x square, cos x after differentiating becomes minus sine x, plus cos x as such. Differentiation of x square is 2x. That's done. So finally we got answer as a minus x square sine x plus 2x cos x. Understood? So that means using the product rule we can use this formula, and we can find this answer. Now similarly, if there is a division, so we will apply the division rule. If there is a power of x, so we are using the rules of power of x. And similarly we can use the tan function, cot function, or any function. So if we remember this formula, so whenever this d upon dx of that formula comes, we will be directly using that for getting the calculation done. Next rule number 10 is the derivative of logarithm and exponential functions. We have got idea about these functions. So these are simply rules or formulas that you need to remember. D upon dx of log x, which is basically ln x. So it came out to be 1 upon x, and d upon dx of e raised to power x remains the same, that's e raised to power x. So after learning this formula, we can take one example. So let's say somebody says find d upon dx of x ln x. So if we are interested in finding x ln x, that means here we need to apply the product formula once again. So we will write in the first function as such, and we will be differentiating the second function, which is ln function. Then we will write in this ln function as such, and we will be differentiating the first function, which is x function. And then this is x. The differentiation of ln x is can be used from the above, so it's 1 by x plus ln x, and this differentiation of x with respect to x will come out to be 1. Now this ln x is separate, and that 1 is separately getting multiplied, so that will become 1 plus ln x, so that becomes our answer. So this differentiation results this thing that we can think from here. Similarly, we can take one more example for exponential case. So let's say somebody asking find the value of d upon dx, x upon e raised to power x. So here we can apply the quotient formula, and we will be using the denominator e raised to power x, differentiation of numerator minus numerator, differentiation of denominator, and then dividing by square of the denominator. And we can carry out this calculation. Differentiation of x is going to be 1, so it's simply e raised to power x, minus e raised to power x differentiation is e raised to power x, so it's going to be x e raised to power x, divided by e raised to power x square. You can take e raised to power x as a common from upside, and this is square. So you can divide 1 e raised to power x, and it will become 1 minus x divided by e raised to power x. Okay. So this is how we can use the logarithm functions, exponential functions with the functions that we have already learned. And there is a last rule, and important rule, and in fact maybe the challenging rule for you is called chain rule. So that has to be understood in a proper fashion. What it says, let's say we need to find dy upon dx, right? And that thing can be written as dy upon any other variable u. So instead of this x, we can introduce any other variable for differentiation. But that's not going to be complete. For that sake, we need to multiply the derivative of that or change in that variable divided by change in x. So that's called chain rule. That means we can introduce any variable. If we are introducing downside, we need to introduce upside. Apparently, it will appear that they are getting cancelled out. This is what it's going to appear, but that's not the rule. As per the rule, this came out to the same, so we don't cut them, cancel them out. Rather, we say that this is one quantity or expression, this is another expression. The first is trying to say the change in y with respect to u into change in u with respect to x. So both are entirely different expressions, but coincidentally they came out to be the product of them is equal to dy upon dx. In fact, we can carry on this for any number of variables, or that's called chain rule. That means we can create a chain and we can keep on moving. Like the dy upon dx can be written as dy upon du into du upon dv into dv upon dw, or whatever the number you like, you can keep on writing, into, let's say, dw upon dx. Ultimately, you need to write dx, so that it apparently appears that other variables which we have involved, they are getting cancelled out. Ultimately, dy is upside, dx is downside, right? So whenever you need to perform this, so we can calculate this number, then this number, then this, and this, and they can multiply all of them. Now, when this will be useful, you can think of this will be useful when y is given a function of u instead of y is given a function of x. So if y is given a function of u, then we can find dy upon du. Then if u is given a function of v, then we can find du upon dv. Similarly, we can carry on this. Ultimately, some function will be given in terms of x. We will finding that differentiation and we will multiplying them to get the final answer. We will take an example, and it sometimes helps. Let's read the next point. It says it sometimes helps to think about this chain rule in the following way. Let's say we have been given in this manner, and that's going to be important. Y is a function of another function which is a function of x, so that's called function of function. So if within a function there is another function g, so what we are going to do, if we need to find dy upon dx, so first we will be differentiating the first function. So whatever this is, we need to differentiate first. So that's f dash. F dash is the differentiation of the first function. Then we need to multiply with the differentiation of the function which is inside. Right? So this second term is basically trying to say the differentiation of inside function. So we will going like this. First we will be differentiating the outside function, keeping inside as such. Then we will be, after doing that, we will be multiplying with the differentiation of the inside function. And if this story keeps on going, then we can keep on multiplying the inside function until we reach to the x. Right? And the differentiation of x, let's say we are also multiplying with this x, because we know this differentiation of x is 1, so that stops. There's no need to multiply with that. Making sense? So let me take a couple of examples and make you understand what exactly this is. So let's say we take an example like this. It's written as d upon dx of sine x square. Now you see, this is not sine x, so our answer simply won't be cos x. But first function, the outer function is sine x, then there's the inside outer function is sine, then inside there's a function called x square. So inside is a different function, outside is a different function. So as per the rule, we will be differentiating the outside function. So outside function will become cos. So sine differentiation becomes cos, as we have learned. And what we need to place inside, whatever inside is, that we need to place. But we will not say this is complete. Still that chain rule has to be applied. Then we need to multiply with the differentiation of the function which was inside, that is x square. Now if you differentiate this x square, we know what is this x square is, that becomes 2x. So our answer will become 2x cos x square. Are you getting this? So this is called function of function, this sine then x square. So there are two functions involved. Making sense? So similarly, we can take another example. Let's say somebody says d upon dx. We need to find d upon dx of sine square x or sine x whole square. Now you see, the inside function is not x. Here we will be considering this function as some capital X. So if we consider this some capital X, then it is x squared. That means x raised to power n formula we need to apply in the first place. So the first operation has to be x raised to power n. So we will treat this inside as a x or some variable, and we will be using the power function or power formula. So 2 power will come outside, and whatever this is, we will keep it as such. And then we will be saying the power is reduced by 1. So we have applied the power formula. But we will be saying that now inside function is sine x, so we need to multiply with the differentiation of this sine x. So this will become basically 2 times sine x from this, and into sine x will get converted into cos x. And then you know this is 2 sine x cos x, that can also be written as sine 2x. So sine 2x will become our final answer for differentiation of sine x whole square. Now you must be knowing, when we say sine x whole square, which basically means sine square x, this does not mean sine x square. Are you getting this? So we don't do the square of x, rather we do the square of sine, or we can say it's a complete square. So here the chain rule is applied. That means we multiply with the differentiation of the inside function to get the chain rule completed. Let's take a few more examples so that you become comfortable with this chain rule. Let's say we need to find d upon dx of x square plus 3 raised to power 10, and we need to find this as a differentiation. Total power is 10. So what we are going to treat, we will be treating this as an inside function, and that's the sum function, and this power formula is the first function. So we will be solving this power function first. So as per the power formula, power will come outside, and whatever is inside we will keep that there, and this will become 10 minus 1. So that's 10 minus 1 as a power, but we need to multiply with the differentiation whatever is inside, that is basically x square plus 3. So that will be simplified to this, it will become 10 x square plus 3 raised to power 9, and the differentiation of this we have already talked about. So here for again several rules has to be applied. First you will take inside, then first differentiation of x square will become twice x, and constant will lead to 0. So that becomes your answer. The final answer can also be written this way. Further more simplification, 2 and 10 they get multiplied to 20x, and x square plus 3 raised to power 9. So that will become your final answer. Let's take one more example to understand this chain rule much better. So it says d upon dx, we need to find this d upon dx of ln of let's say x e raised to power x. A bit more complicated I have given over here, but we need to learn all the rules. It's basically related to the rule. So this can be treated as a function of function again. So this is inside function, and that's the outside function. So first we will be simplifying this outside function. So ln, differentiation of ln is 1 upon that function. So it's going to be 1 upon what is inside. Inside is x e raised to power x. But that's inside function has to be further differentiated and multiplied. So d upon dx of this inside function, which is x e raised to power x. Now this differentiation will require the product rule, because they are being multiplied. So here we need to simplify using the product rule. So let's carry on. So it becomes 1 upon x e raised to power x into applying the product rule. As per the product rule, we write the first function as such, we differentiate the another function. So we need to differentiate d upon dx of this e raised to power x. After some time you can start writing directly as well, and then we write the second function as such. We will be differentiating the first function d upon dx of x, and then this will become in the numerator is going to be x e raised to power x has a differentiation e raised to power x. In the second term is e raised to power x, and differentiation of x is 1, so multiplied with 1 divided by x e raised to power x. Makes sense? Now from here you can take the e raised to power x and you can cancel it out. So it becomes x plus 1 divided by x, which is basically 1 plus 1 by x. So that's our answer. So point is, if the function of functions are given to us, so first we deal with the function which is outside, then we go inside. If there's more functions involved, we can go further inside and keep on solving. Let's have one last example related to this, and then we will be covering all the rules related to this differentiation and sufficient amount of examples. Let's say we need to find d upon dx of function which is 2 plus 3 sine, I'm trying to make it a bit complicated, sine e raised to power x square plus 5 or some sort of this, but we need to keep in mind how the rules are going. So first this differentiation will go in the two terms, so first term and the second term. So we write it's going to be d upon dx of 2, which is 0, plus d upon dx of this number. 3 is a constant as a multiple, so multiple constant will come outside. We need to apply d upon dx on this sine function. Inside this sine is e, inside this e is x square plus 5. So first term becomes 0, that's obvious. 3 is a constant that keeps there. First outside function is sine x or sine, so that sine will get converted into cosine, so that's cos. Whatever inside is, we need to keep that intact. So x square plus 5 is a power of e. Then we need, this chain rule comes in, so whatever inside is, we need to differentiate that. So e raised to power x square plus 5, that was inside, that we have differentiated. Now we will be moving towards the next step. The next step is going to be 3, then 3, this cos e raised to power x square plus 5 into, now we are interested in differentiating this expression. For this expression, this is going to be outer function, and is inside it, this is another function that is going on. So first we will apply the e raised to power x formula. As per this formula, it remains unchanged, that means it will come x square plus 5. However, that has to be further differentiated, so d upon dx of x square plus 5. If you're following, then you can think of, here we need to apply chain rule 2 times. First for e raised to power something, and then for that something, that is x square plus 5. And if this chain keeps on moving, we can keep on differentiating in this way and multiplying. Well, this differentiation is twice x plus 0, so twice x will be coming extra, so ultimately it will become twice, and this 3, so that's a 6x cos cos, inside you are going to get e raised to power x square plus 5 into this e raised to power x square plus 5 as another function. So that's your final answer. Makes sense? So well, these are the rules, very important rules. There are too many, but if you keep on revising and working, you will get used to of it, and just get used to of it and do couple of problems. And then in the next video we will be talking about the application part of this differentiation, which is going to be important for us in physics. And to understand that part, this has to be understood. Whenever the function is coming, we must be able to find the differentiation. And well, the last example that I have given is quite complicated. This kind of example calculation we may not need, neither we may need this kind of questions. If they are going to come, they will be very, very rare. But yes, prior examples, they are extremely important. So simple differentiation we should be able to carry forward, okay, or carry it out. So this is all about this video. In the next video we will be moving ahead. If you have any question or query, you can ask. Thank you for watching.